Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Eric sent me notes. Steve, check out this article, and it's interesting. A guy named Jason Kobler wrote this for 404 Media. And we've been talking about lawyers who use AI and various large language models to help them write briefs. And everybody pretty much knows that the large language models are pretty cool. The stuff they can do is amazing. But occasionally, to write a good sounding brief, it'll make up cases, for instance. Or say a case says something it doesn't say. And those are called hallucinations, where it starts making up stuff. And so a lot of lawyers early on who didn't realize that these things did that would submit briefs to courts that contained all kinds of citations that were non-existent or just wrong. And of course, that's not a good thing. And so as word got out about this, I and many other attorneys assumed that attorneys would kind of go, oh, okay, we can't do this. For some odd reason, that's not happening. And I did a story not so long ago about an attorney who was hit with a record $10,000 fine that he had to pay himself because he had submitted a thing to the court that was filled with nonsense. And I pointed out before that most courts say that if an attorney signs something, and by the way, an attorney cannot file an unsigned pleading. Pleadings must be signed. If you sign the pleading, you are vouching for its authenticity, accuracy, everything about it. It's being filed for a good purpose. You've checked it out. It's been vetted. And so when you turn something in with a hallucinated case in it and you've signed it, you're violating the rule on signing. And that's a serious thing. When you sign documents, it's a serious thing, especially if you're a lawyer. So I had some great discussions with friends of mine who are lawyers about this. And so Jason here at 404 Media went out and decided to find out what the excuses were used by attorneys who got busted using AI. And he reminds us of the $10,000 record fine case. And he says, in that case, the lawyer in question asserted he had not been aware that generative AI frequently fabricates or hallucinates legal sources, and thus he did not manually verify against more reliable sources. He accepted responsibility for the fabrications and said he had since taken measures to educate himself so he does not repeat such errors in the future. Now, the judge, of course, was not amused, fined him $10,000. And so Jason, the author of the article here, used a crowdsourced database of AI hallucination cases maintained by a researcher, which so far contains more than 410 cases worldwide. It's not just happening in America. There are 269 of those cases in the United States. And the database is an incredible resource, but it largely focuses on what happened in any individual case and the sanctions against the lawyers rather than the elaborate excuses that lawyers gave the courts when they got caught. Keep in mind, lawyers are really good at elaborate excuses. So he started with that database as a starting point. He tried contacting lawyers. Most did not respond to him, but some actually did. But he then went through and read as much as he could from transcripts and so on to find out what excuses did attorneys have for doing what they did, because they should know better, you would think. Well, here we go. A lawyer in Indiana blamed the court. The lawyer took the position that the main reason for the errors in his brief was a short deadline he was given to file it. He explained that due to the short time frame, which was 3 days, and his busy schedule, he asked his paralegal to draft the brief. Now, he pointed out that his paralegal used to be a licensed attorney, but is not anymore. I wonder why that is. But he said that he wasn't given enough time, and therefore he turned it in, and it turns out that the paralegal's draft was AI. Now, here's the problem. It's not the paralegal's draft. It's his draft. The moment he puts his name on it, he signs it, it becomes his. Okay. A lawyer in New York blamed vertigo, head colds, and malware. He acknowledged that he used Westlaw, supported by Google Copilot, which is an artificial intelligence-based tool, as a preliminary research aid, but then went on to state that he had no idea that the tools could fabricate. And see, that's a problem, because I pointed out the guy who got fined $10,000, his case has been kind of rambling along, but it originally started a while back. And so it's possible at the front end of this, a lot of attorneys didn't know that these AIs would hallucinate. But you should know that by now. So I would say from this date forward, let's just say from October 2025 forward, any attorney who does this has been put on notice, okay? A lawyer in Florida blamed a paralegal and the fact they're doing the case pro bono. Now, pro bono, of course, means that you're doing it with no expectation of getting paid. Often you're doing it for a good cause or somebody who can't afford an attorney. And he was handling an appeal pro bono and said that he lacked experience in appellate law. Well, if you don't know how to do the kind of law someone's asking you to do, you shouldn't accept the case pro bono or otherwise. And a lot of people think, well, if it's pro bono, you're not really expecting much, right? Well, you should be expecting the basic standard that the lawyer knows what they're doing. And I will admit, I've known attorneys who've never filed an appeal before. And I remember filing my first few appeals, and I worked with other attorneys going, please walk me through this, make sure I'm doing this right. And then after you've done it a few times, you know how to do it. So apparently, again, blaming it on a paralegal and the fact they're doing pro bono. And by the way, the blaming it on a paralegal is a common one we see pop up a few times. A lawyer in South Carolina said he was rushing. He was in a hurry. Unfortunately, attorneys are often in a hurry. There are often deadlines in cases that are fatal, meaning if you miss a deadline, you lose. So you have an answer due tomorrow. It needs to be filed tomorrow, okay? So most attorneys know that that's the nature of the beast. Of your practice, deadlines. Deadlines come rushing at you. And as Douglas Adams of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fame once said, I love deadlines. I love the sound they make as they go rushing past me. But he was a writer. He was not an attorney. A lawyer in Hawaii blamed a New Yorker he had hired. See, it's that old West Coast, East Coast thing. But you can hire other people to help you with stuff. And nowadays you can do it. You can hire people in other countries, other continents to help you, right? You still got to check your work. And the moment you sign it, it becomes yours. I can't stress that enough. A lawyer in Arizona blamed someone they'd hired. So again, let's throw somebody else under the bus. A lawyer in Louisiana blamed Westlaw. And Westlaw is a legal research tool. And apparently it comes with some kind of chat GPT-like thing. I don't know what it's called. All I know is I get offered. I get emails every single day going, Steve, you need to try this. And it's the companies pitching it to me. And it's these legal entities going, we've got AI that works. Oh, a lawyer in New York said that the death of their spouse distracted them. Now, I'll grant you that would be a very grievous thing to happen. But again, your spouse died, and then you went to sign a document that you were vouching for. A lawyer in California said he had done it as a legal experiment. Now, again, lawyers are great at coming up with excuses, and novel excuses are always just a little bit more. And it's unclear what he would have accomplished if the experiment had gone well, but it went bad. Some people are going to say, Steve, you mean it went badly? Take your pick. I don't care. Lawyers in Michigan blamed an internet outage. Now, I can't stand it when the internet goes down. I really can't. But apparently, some of my fellow Michigan lawyers said the internet went down and that somehow caused them to file an AI hallucinated brief. Lawyers in Washington, D.C. blamed Grammarly pro writing and an IT error. So it's all kind of technical stuff. But again, you have to understand, go watch an old movie about lawyers. Anatomy of a Murder is one of my favorite old movies about lawyers. Okay, old movie, long before there were computers. They barely had telephones, okay? And in that movie, you will see the lawyers going into the law library in Marquette, Michigan, and pulling dusty old books off shelves and opening the books up and reading the books. And then you'll also hear someone tell the judge, Your Honor, there's the case, Smith versus Johnson, 248, Michigan 23, where on such and such a page, it says this. And the judge will say, really? I'm unfamiliar with the case. Goes and pulls the book out, looks it up. Okay? So the fact that you have all these programs that are available to you, the job remains the same. The job is find the cases that support your position, cite them and argue them. If there's cases that don't support your position, find them, study them, and figure out why they go the other way and why you don't care. And present that to the court in a cogent argument. Grammarly, pro writing, and an IT error shouldn't interfere with your ability to do research and submit something. And finally, a lawyer in Texas blamed his email, his temper, and his legal assistant. And again, always blame somebody else. And if I was a judge, and I don't want to be a judge, if I was a judge and someone said, I blame this on my legal assistant, I'd pull the brief out and I'd look at it and go, I see a signature at the bottom of this last page. Is that their signature or yours? I don't have my glasses on. Do I need to put my glasses on, counselor? No, you don't, Your Honor. Why is that? It's my signature. It's your signature. Okay. Did your paralegal forge your signature on this document, or did you sign this? No, I signed it, Your Honor. Okay, let's stop talking about your paralegal who's got nothing to do with this. Well, I asked them to look something up and then draft me a first draft of something. Okay, and as the lawyer, isn't it your job to go through that draft and check everything to make sure that when you sign it, it's what it needs to be? Isn't that your job? So this legal assistant blame, although it was a common excuse, wouldn't fly with me, and I bet it didn't fly with a lot of these judges either. Now, as for his temper, I'm not sure what that means. I mean, I've gotten angry at my computer before. I've never punched the screen, but I've come real close. And he blamed his email. His email. Not sure how you blame your email unless your email's drafting your briefs for you. But the point is that these lawyers who got caught using AI, explaining why they did it, are pretty much blaming everybody else, including one guy wasn't blaming anybody else, but he did say it was an experiment. Well, dude, the experiment failed. Sorry to tell you. The experiment failed. It didn't launch. It exploded on the pad, whatever you want to call it, but your experiment failed. But like I said, from this point forward, everyone is on notice. You have to be on notice. You cannot be functioning in the legal realm as an attorney and not know today that this AI stuff can do this to you. Use the AI if you want to, but use it at your own peril in the sense that you've got to double check what it does. You have to. It'll make stuff up, which you didn't have to worry about with your paralegal. I've never heard of a paralegal inventing cases before. I've never heard of that. And so what's crazy about this is deep in this article, one of the attorneys that spoke about this actually said, well, everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. And number one, no, not everyone. I'm not. I've yet to use ChatGPT or any of those other things for anything at all. I've just decided that it's going to be one of those things I'm not going to do until it's forced on me. I haven't used it. No, don't say everyone's using it. But number two, even if they were, you know the old saying, what did your parents say when you said, well, everyone's doing it? If everyone was jumping off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff? Unbelievable. So this article is quite good. It's at 404media.co. I just scratched the surface of it. But 18 lawyers who got caught using AI explained why they did it. And their excuses, as you expect, were all over the map. It was everything from my paralegal did it, which is a bunch of them too. It was an experiment that failed. Jason Kober wrote that. Eric sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. The early bird catches the worm, but it's the early worm that gets caught.